Hey guys, this is Introducing Emmy, and I was asked to show how I set up one of my Trying Human pages, like from the very beginning. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Alright, so this is what one of my pages looks like when it's scanned in. It's just a layout rough. It's usually just pencil. I prefer to do ink, but I didn't have a pen on me, so it was in pencil. So let me show you how I clean this up. So I make it a little darker by adjusting my levels, and then I take it over to my actual page template. I have a whole bunch of these. I just keep saving new ones for when I'm getting ready to do my comic. And then I have my measurement hotkey to F6, so every time I hit that, it puts these new guidelines in that shows me, where my hot area is, which for all yins that don't know comic talk, that's sort of like the area where you want your text and all your action to take place. Anything beyond that is going to get clipped off, or could potentially get clipped off in printing, so you don't want that to happen. So I just try to make sure like all my edges are in there, and this is just rough. You can change anything at any time. So we don't need that anymore. Alrighty, let me get a little closer. All my templates have a gray background. It's actually kind of hard to see against the gray of the frame of Photoshop here, but that's alright. I don't like everything to be bright white because I can't see that. It hurts me. It hurts my eyes and gives me a migraine. Just turn that down a little bit. So now, here we go. This is our background layer. This is our sketch, the very roughest of rough sketches. And let's start laying out our frames. And I do this just with a polygon lasso tool. No need to get fancy. My gutters usually aren't like the exact same size on every page. I used to like really carefully measure that to make sure that they were all the same size, but I realized after a while that once you compress pages down or once they're in print, it's actually kind of hard to tell if the gutters are all the same size unless they're drastically off. So I just eyeball it. It would help if it went all the way through there. There we go. Sometimes I have to go back over it more than once just to make sure that I have all my gutters all pretty. And then real quickly I want to look at my other page, the page that was right before this, because I want to look at them side by side to make sure that it's not, how would I say this? It's not good to have frames line up across pages. So like when this goes into print, these two pages are going to be side by side when you open the book. And you don't want, wait, that's 22. Oh, it would help if they were the same. You don't want frames to line up across pages. It can kind of cause the viewer to read that like all the way across when the book is open, like a spread. So I try to avoid this as much as possible, but sometimes they're going to be kind of close. You can't always avoid that, but it's good if you try to avoid that. After doing like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, it's going to happen. It is unavoidable. I think I'd like that to be a complete, I don't know, I've kind of made up my own terminology for a lot of this stuff, but like a panel that clips out to the edge of the pages, just to break up these two sections and to make this last panel a little more dramatic. I'm actually going to tuck this one in a little tiny bit, because there's a part right here where he says, this is the end of a scene, and he says something that kind of finishes the scene, like dun dun dun, like, well, not that dramatic, but you know, you want that panel to be tucked in a little more just to give the reader some pause. Alright, so I select all my panels, go to modify, contract, 10, okay, delete, and there you go. So those are our frames. Took us 5 seconds, or maybe a little bit more than 5 seconds. And now do the boring part where I type in all my dialogue. I use Anime Ace, that's the font, and size 10. And I do it in all caps. Oops, I just bumped my microphone. I always seem to do that in every single video. Now, some people out there will tell you that you shouldn't do all caps for your dialogue in comics, that you should only, sorry, I'm just checking my sizing here, that you shouldn't do all caps, and that because the only capital I should be the ultimate I, like I am going to the store, or I am going to the skating rink. So the I in that sentence would be capitalized, but the I in rink wouldn't. Now, that's kind of like an old school comicking rule, and that's not one that I always adhere to. And I don't want that to be so hard. Okay, so yeah, I capitalize all my I's. I think they look neater for some reason. It's just personal preference to me. I mean, if it's readable, legible, I speak the English. Then I don't care. The only thing that kind of drives me out the wall is when folks use a different font and a different color of font for every single character. You know, like one person will be Comic Sans red, and then another person will be like Times New Roman purple, and things like that. That really bugs me. It's sort of the mark of someone who doesn't know how to panel. Especially when it's not incorporated. It's hard to like type and talk at the same time. Especially when it's not incorporated as part of the art. Like, I've seen folks do it before, successfully in my opinion, but that's very rare. Sorry, I have to be quiet and concentrate. Let's see. I'm lagging a little bit from recording. You want to see her that badly? Oh, it would help if I didn't make up my own dialogue. Be a pretty nice end to an otherwise lousy day. It's a little hard to see sometimes. I apologize. I should have probably paused the video and just did this off camera and then been like, oh, look at all my dialogue, all done. Oh well, you can sit through it. 1 second, I need to turn the page of my script. We ain't fancy. Maybe someday I'll show you how I lay out my scripts. Yes, this character's name is 12. Well, technically it's Roger, whatever. It's his code name is 12. Where do I want to go? I really like you, 12. Just don't mess this up. Sound like RuPaul, and don't fuck it up. Oh, I won't. He's gonna mess it up. He's a bad guy. Kinda. Alright, so that's our dialogue. I'm actually gonna throw a color in here because I'm having trouble seeing. Let's turn that to soft light and lock the layer. And you guys can't see my layers, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. And then I use my... Actually, I'm not going to use my ellipse for this one. I'm going to use the ellipse shape tool, not the elliptical selection tool. And as you can see, I just kind of slop these bubbles out. That's alright. We'll fix it. I actually am not a big fan of the perfectly round bubbles anymore, at least in my own work. You know, some people do it fine and I don't care, whatever. Whatever. But I kind of figured out a way to do them better. However, I've been doing them like this and trying them forever now, so I've just decided to, you know, keep at it, to keep everything consistent and neat and yummy and wonderful. So, yerp. So I just go through and select each polygon, clean them up. Nobody wants to see unsightly, uneven bubbles. This also gives you a chance to see or to make sure that your text is nice and neat and circular. A good rule of thumb for setting up your bubbles is that you don't want these little edges of your, like, I'm so eloquent the way I talk. You don't want the edges of your text to, like, be poking at the corners of your bubbles. You don't want to pop them. So a good rule of thumb is that an O should be able to roll all the way around your edges. So that looks pretty good. And this one we are going to move down. So each one of my sentences, or each one of my text groups, I'm not really sure, like each one of my word bubble text groups is on its own layer. If you've ever worked in Photoshop, you know how that works. And then I have a blank layer below all that crap where my my elliptical polygons are. And that is where I work on editing the balloons. I really, really don't like the way this text is sitting here, but I really want this panel to be like long and skinny. Sort of like he's kind of slyly cutting in, like, oh yeah, that'd be a pretty nice way to end, or that'd be a pretty nice end to an otherwise lousy day. I keep changing that in my head for some reason to something else. I edited this scene a lot, so it kind of makes me wonder if that was different. So I'm actually gonna, instead of having this text be circular, I'm gonna have it be a little more narrow. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have it like that. All right, so let's go down and make sure all of this is nice. That looks pretty good. And then this one. I generally don't like to have like one long string of text just going straight. You know, somewhere in there I'd normally put a break, but I don't know. For this to impact, I want it to just be one long smoosh. One long smoosh of text. And we'll just try to make the bubble look as neat as possible. In fact, what I might do is, I very, very rarely do this in Trying Human, but I'm going to reshape my bubble just a tiny bit. So it's a little more like sausage shape. Num num num, sausage. Somebody out there is going, oh girl, she said sausage. Okay. So. And then we are going to fill our subpaths. It would be helpful if we selected all of these and not just one. Select white, and now we will fill all our paths. I'll double click, put stroke on there at size 10 if I can see my keyboard. This bubble's a little tight, like the bottom here. See, I don't like how close these edges are coming. Let me try reorganizing. I usually work from the bottom up on my text balloons, but if I can't get it to look nice, then I'll just leave it the other way. Yeah, see, I don't like to leave like areas like this at the bottom of my balloons or my word bubbles. And the newer way that I make balloons for other comics, I do it a little differently now. Trying Human is over halfway done though, so I'm like, I'll just finish it with the old style of the bubbles, and that'll be that. And there's probably some horrible typo in here that I'm not going to see till near the end, and you're all going to go, fix it! You've been at this job for days, and you are already turning into a sap. I read it like a robot, so that I am making sure that there's no typos. Do you want to see her that badly? Alright. I really like you, 12. Just don't mess this up. Oh, I won't. He's a bad guy. He's up to no good. Alright. So the one last thing I need to do here for my setup before I start working is, well, first of all, hey now, you're an all-star. That bubble's way too close. I like to keep my bubbles at arm's length. Leave room for the Holy Ghost. Alright, so here she's supposed to like sigh a little bit, like before she says this line of dialogue. It's hard to kind of portray some of that in comics, so usually what I do is I add it as sort of a clipped-in sound effect at the top of the bubble, kind of like she's going like you've been at this job for days and you're already turning into a sap. Like, come on. Also, I don't know why she's like looking out. She's looking at in the wrong direction in my sketch. Just ignore that. So I actually just recently cleaned up a ton of my fonts. I don't have nearly as many as I used to. In fact, I'm almost positive that I will not have a font here that I will like for that kind of a sound effect. But we shall see. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna draw that. I do both. I draw and type sound effects depending on how lazy I am. Alright, so yeah, I'm just gonna draw the sound effect. Let me get my tablet. I've been using the mouse so far. Knocking things around on my desk. Let's make a new layer and we'll just pick some color that we can see. Let's see, we'll do so there's no exact art to doing this, it's just you kind of got to feel it out. So, yeah, I think that looks okay. She's kind of like, you know, it's long, it's kind of cute and dopey looking. I don't know how else to describe text like that. It's got a little swag on it. Alright, so I'm probably going to put it right there. I'm going to do some minor cleanup on it first, though. I'm going to actually put a little stroke around it. Most of you know my affinity for stroke. I'm going to give it a little breathing room as well, so the letters aren't so close together. It's kind of funny, you know, when I went into, when I was in college, I went in for animation, and I don't know, I didn't feel comfortable acting in that way, and I don't really know how else to describe it, but I don't know, I couldn't get into it that way. It felt really awkward for me, but this kind of acting, there's something about this that really sings to me. I remember we had to take acting classes, and I was petrified. I have awful social anxiety, and I would just sob and sob before acting class because I was so nervous all the time. And I remember thinking, I can act, you know, I can do this, but this is just not how I want to do it. I don't want to get up in front of people, and I don't necessarily want to act through my characters the same way. I also think some of it was that it takes a lot of time to animate, and a lot of times you can get just as much emotion through a still panel. Get there a little quicker. But no, don't get me wrong, man. I give total props to animators. They have way more patience than me. I had to tell my story a lot quicker than through animation. So, okay. So we've cleaned up that little sound effect. And let's, I do like it being blue. I think, yeah, I definitely like it being blue. That kind of, it's kind of a cool color because she's kind of like, you know, that's kind of cool. Or, you know, how, let me see here. I hope this isn't like a synesthesia thing, but you know how feelings kind of have like a color, you know, like when you're really excited, like everything's like red hot, you know, you're just like, yeah, yeah, you know, or orange or really happy up colors. Whereas like when you're kind of like cool or mellow, they're sort of like blues and light colors and you know. So it's kind of how I decide like what colors are going to go into my sound effects. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't come off sounding like a wild person. Actually, let's make this a dark border on the outside. Let's inside that. Oops, no, let's center that. And then let's, here's a little trick. If you need to put more than one border on an object in Photoshop, use both stroke and outer glow because you can basically get outer glow to work the same way as stroke if you just spend a little time caressing it softly in the moonlight. Yeah, I think it looks good. I don't know if I said this already, but when you're working on stuff like this, after a while it doesn't even look like the word that it's supposed to be. Like sigh, it's starting to look like siga or sigis or something. It becomes like a surreal word. Like it looks like a really bad spelling of like sig, like for cigarette. Yeah, I like that. Alright, and I'm gonna actually... I can't believe I'm spending this much time putting a sound effect in, but it's alright. That is alright. Oh, I want the colors to be a little brighter. I'll just do it like this, I guess. Control U and crank my saturation. Doo, doo, doo. Okay, maybe not that much. Alright. And I think that's good enough. I mean, it's not perfect, but that's kind of part of the charm, I guess. And then, did that? Yeah, okay. So now it's part of the panel. Get rid of the orange. And there we go. Now the page is ready to be drawn. Just like that. Oh, and I remember one one other thing I wanted to do was to show you a clipped panel. So this is pretty easy. You just select the panel that you want to clip the balloon into. Let's see, let's get a little closer. Oops. Don't color over your text, because that's not good. And then inverse your selection and just erase the edges of your balloon. That way, just forgot a little piece right there. That way, when you're ready to draw your tails, your stroke is still activated on that layer, but it's clipped in. Actually, I'm not even sure where his head's gonna be. I probably shouldn't draw the tail this early. I usually draw the tails at the very end, because then I can actually see where their mouthies are. So actually, if I turn off my frames, you can see that it's kind of like a little awkwardly shaped word balloon, but that's okay, because it's supposed to give the illusion that the panel is actually clipping over his dialogue a little bit. I can't really say that there's any, in my comic anyway, I don't have like a reason other than appearance to do this. Like, there's nothing implied for the acting or like the way he's delivering this dialogue. That the balloon is clipped, or I mean that the panel is clipped over the balloon. It's like, it's not making him seem like shy or oh my god or worried or anything. It's just a different way to do the layout and make it look interesting. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm actually going to get to work and start drawing on this page now. And I guess I'll see you guys later. And I'm sorry I haven't been posting a whole lot of videos this week either. I actually have company over this week, and it's a little awkward to kind of record and like have people in the house and stuff. So yeah, don't worry about that. Everything will be back to normal on Saturday. So I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye!